Danny Flexon here for SecondsOut. I'd like to be joined at the new Peacock Gym by Martin Bowles and Ray Ball. How you guys doing?
We're fine, thanks. Dan, you?
I'm good.
Yeah, very good, Dan, yeah.
Ray's saying he's very good. He was just telling me how long the day's been, but he's all right now. Runs his own scaffolding firm in the meantime as well, which it can't be easy juggling the two.
No, it ain't. I've got to keep sneaking away every day. Yeah, so nobody knows I'm here.
They do now.
They do now.
Is Martin a hard taskmaster?
No,
but Ray is.
Just first of all, before we talk about the fighters and stuff, Martin, tell us a little bit about how you and Ray work together, how you kind of split responsibilities in the gym.
To be fair, I can't really explain that. I mean, it's just something that we do, and we've just rolled into the positions perfectly. I mean, we've got a good working relationship. We get on well with the boys. You know, some days Ray's bad cop, I'm good cop. And other days I'm good cop, Ray's bad cop.
What TV cop partnership are you most like? Are you looking at Miami Vice, Lethal Weapon?
We're definitely not Cagney and Lacey.
It's your main piece,
yeah. No, I didn't mean like that. I was just saying, like you need different personalities in the gym when you're training boys, and you need different people to bounce off of. Because different people see different things, but it's not only myself and Ray here. We're fortunate enough to have 3 other people that help us on a daily basis, which is Andre Ollie, Eric Taymor, and Adam Spelling. And we're all different personalities, and like I said, with fighters, you need different inputs.
And what's going on with the old Peacock facility at the moment?
At the moment, it's still open, but it's not open to the general public because it's not worth doing at the moment. We have a few pros coming here in the morning that can't make it over to ourselves. Eric will meet them there and train them, and then we do a few one-on-ones, like book up and make an appointment only. And it seems to be the best way of going forward at the moment.
And Ray, just tell us, are there certain fighters here that you work with more than others, or do you split between all of them? How does that work?
No, we all put our own input into. We just mix it about. You know, I mean, nobody's got one fighter in particular, do because someone might come past and say he's doing that wrong. I think you should put that right, and that's how it goes. You know what I mean? We on a daily basis we come in. You work with him today, and you work with him today, and you work with him today. Yeah. So it just depends how it all pans out in the day.
That's true, but as Ray just said, that's how it normally pans out in the day. But obviously, there's fighters in the gym that I might have a longer relationship, or Ray might have a longer relationship. Like Denzel, obviously, Ray's had him since day one in the amateurs.
From Fisher,
and brought him through. And as obviously the biggest input with Denzel, because he's got the closest relationship. Because what happens in the gym, you build a relationship with a fighter, and they tend to shine towards you, if that makes any sense. But we all have an input, and everyone's got a voice. I feel that we're quite fortunate that we've not got too many massive egos in here, because obviously at the end of the day, none of the fighters' journeys are our journey. They're their own individual journeys. You know what I mean? And rightly so. So we let it flow like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense to me. Let's talk about some of those individual journeys, starting with Chris Bourke. Yeah. He's got James Beach Jr. For his next fight. Interesting measuring stick for Chris against Brad Foster, the British and Commonwealth champion.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that's a really good fight, and obviously, as I've said before, and I'm not blowing our own trumpet here at the gym, but we like to think of our fighters going into real meaningful fights. I mean, Chris has done, for want of a better word, his apprenticeship. He's moving through now, and that's another good fight for Chris. And obviously we fancy it, but there's no how can I say?
I don't think you could have.
Yeah, it's not a gimme. It's not a gimme by anyone.
I don't think he could go anywhere else after his last fight. With the last guy. Especially stopping him in the second round. It was a good win for him. I mean, nobody thought that was going to happen. And he done a good job there, So he's got to go on the up, isn't he? He can't come down. He's got to go up. So he'll be looking to, if he gets a win on his next fight, he'll be looking probably to fight Foster, won't he? So.
And Martin, we saw Louie Lynn not too long ago in a press release calling out the British champion Lee Wood and wanting that fight. When you see things like that, not specifically Louie, but how do you feel when any of your fighters do that? They might not, yeah.
we cringe, because listen, if but that is the nature of the game, unfortunately, and that's the way the game's going today. But I mean, we wouldn't want to be sitting here calling any fighters out. I mean, whoever we fight, we respect and appreciate that they put the same hard work and effort in that our boys have, and maybe a little bit more because they're already there. But you know, kids call out the next best thing to themselves, and that's what they do. But you can't do nothing about it. It ain't our style, but it happens.
The thing is, he is at that level, and he knows he's at that level to fight for a British title or a European title. I think if you look at his last fight against the Spanish kid, you know, he worked really hard for that fight, and he done very well. So, you know, he is at that level. The same again, he can't go backwards, he's got to go forwards, you know.
See, you can't hold the kids back, you know, naturally, if that's what they're thinking, and as athletes and as competitive athletes, that's what they're gonna be looking for. You know, whatever sport you're in, you always call out the next person on, don't you? If you're ambitious and you've got real dreams and aspirations of being a champion, and you know, and you've got to be in meaningful fights to be a champion. So whether you win or lose, that's neither here nor there. You know, that's part of the journey.
Has it been more of a challenge to get quality fighters in for sparring now you've moved out of London?
No, not at all. No. Not at all. No, just as easy. Listen, no.
And why is that? Is that because of the talent you've got in the gym? People just keen to test themselves against them?
I think that's probably a valid point, but I think, listen, we go anywhere for good sparring, and any good trainer goes anywhere for good sparring. It's as simple as that. Listen, we ain't scared to travel, you know what I mean? We go everywhere, and we go to other gyms, but fortunately enough, sometimes people come to us. It's just how it is.
And Ray, as someone who worked with Denzel since he was very young at the Fisher, obviously, and still now, how disappointed were you personally with the defeat to Felix Cash?
We ain't over it yet.
We ain't over it. We're still not over it, you know what I mean? It was an hard pill to swallow. You know, if it was over 12 rounds, you accept it, but you know, you just didn't see that coming. Just didn't see that coming, and you know, and it hurt. It did hurt. You know what I mean? And you couldn't, I can't say nothing different to that. No, but give the other guy his due. He done his job, and that's it. You know, you got to give him his credit, and I hope he goes on and he fulfills his dream as a world champion. And we got to brush ourselves down and start again. You know, it's just. It's a setback. It's a big setback, but he wants to put it right. Wants to get out and box again, and as soon as possible. You know what I mean? But you know, it's hard. It was hard. It was hard. Yeah.
How difficult is it when it's hard for everyone in the gym that he suffered that defeat, but you've then got to, as his trainers, build him back up?
Well, we've had a couple of knockbacks in the gym, big knockbacks. You know, we're not stupid, you know. We lost the British heavyweight and Commonwealth title, you know, where we was on a high. To be fair, we've been on an high for 3 years. We've had some great nights. We've had some cracking nights, you know, with when we had Daniel and with Denzel, with the two young boys, Louie and Chris. We've had some great nights, and we had a great night with Danny Carr up in Bolton not so long ago. Put a great performance on, fantastic performance. And you know, when you get a big loss like Daniel, and then you get a loss like Denzel's, you know,
back to back,
we're you know, you think, oh, the wheels have come off of it here, you know, and then everybody jumps on, oh, what are they doing down there? You know, they're this, they're that, they're this, they're that, and you know, you have to have broad shoulders to take it, same as the fighters have to take it. You brush yourself down, and you grit your teeth, you get back up and get back in the gym and try and
start all over again.
Start again, yeah.
Now, Martin, we were at a press conference last week. Yeah, thanks, Ray. We were at a press conference last week for Daniel Dubois' latest fight against Bogg, and I said to you at one point, obviously off camera, isn't this like massively awkward? And I think you agreed at the time. That was before we started talking about extension leads. You're still his manager, but you're his former trainer, but you've kind of got an obligation to be at all his events as well, alongside his new trainer, whoever that turns out to be. At the moment it's Shane McGuigan, before that it was Mark Tibbs. How strange is that for you?
Listen, it is and it ain't. You have to wear two different hats in this game. Like if a match comes in, you have to look at it as a trainer, and then also you have to look at it from the manager's point of view. And does it take us forward? Where does it take us? What does it get us? Is it financially viable? Listen, it's part of the job. Everything's part of the job. Like Ray just said, you know, we had two big losses back to back, but so what? We were still in a position to have them losses. That's the way I look at it. Yeah. And you know, we get up, we come in here Monday morning, and we go forward. It's all part of the game. It's boxing. There ain't no other sport like it. There's nothing else that compares to it. So you can't look at one sport and say, oh, well, it happens in that. It doesn't. Anything that happens in boxing is completely boxing. You know, it's strange to the world of boxing.
You can't go and put it right the following week. No. It's a building process again. You know, you're down, you're up there, you get down, and then you're down there. So
straight away. Highs and lows.
And that's the highs and lows of the game. That makes it unique.
That's what makes it exciting. And like you said, is that awkward? No, not for me, because without blowing our own trumpet or saying anything, we're professionals.
That's it.
And we get on with it, whatever it is. Like I said, it hurts to walk in here after Denzel's loss. Monday, that hurt. That really hurt. But listen, as Ray said, fair play to the kid. He done his job. Referee done a great job. We're in a really fortunate position to have professional people in the opposite corner to us and professional people in the ring judging it and making sure our boys don't get hurt. So I've got no problems with any of it. Listen, Dan, whatever.
Were you surprised, though, that he decided to move on, given you'd taken him to British and Commonwealth titles and he was unbeaten before the Joyce fight? And there's no disgrace in losing to Joe Joyce.
No, to be fair, look, like everything, there's loads of things that go on behind the scenes, but I'm not here to say what's gone on and what ain't gone on. We move on. That's history.
Were you surprised that he didn't stay for longer with Mark Tibbs after moving on from here? Like, within a few months, he's had 3 different trainers.
Again, without trying to be a politician, things go on behind the scenes. Dan's got a career that we've got to shape and guide and look after. Not just myself, Frank, BT, and all the professional people around him. So if he's with Shane now, I'm sure Shane will do a great job. Listen, we move on. We're not the first people to lose fighters. We won't be the last. We won't be the first people to inherit fighters. We won't be the last. Yeah. It's all part of the sport. That's what makes it exciting. That's what people tune in for. All the different bits and pieces. It's what it is.
Is it a more complex situation now? Because previously it was what you wanted and what Frank wanted kind of going, it's not always going to be the same. But now there's 3 different elements because you've got a separate trainer.
No, because the training is, taking nothing away from any trainers that train fighters. When I say this, make no doubt about that, because the trainer does one job, the promoter does a job, and the matchmaker does a job. The manager does a job. They're all different jobs. The trainer doesn't really have any say in what the management do going forward.
In theory, but there are some trainers out there. No, I agree.
It's what it is.
I agree with you, but there are, and I'm not saying Shane's one of these, but there are other trainers out there who like to have more of an input.
Yeah, listen, you've got to have an input. You need to know. Listen, as a manager, you need to know from the trainer, how's he doing, how's he shaping, how's he handle so and so, how's he move, what's his feelings. But listen, that's all. Again, it's all just part of the job. You know, it's a team effort. It ain't one person that says anything. So moving forward, I don't see no problem with it.
So when it comes to, and I don't just mean with Daniel, I mean generally, when there is a trainer, a manager, a promoter, who tends to have the final say over things like opponent selection?
Well, to be fair, with something like that, you'd get a list from the matchmaker saying, how do you see this? Then you'd ask the trainer, how would he fit with these people? Then you go to the promoter and say, can we make any of these matches? The matchmaker then goes, the promoter will then go back to the matchmaker and say, who can you make? It's how it's always worked. Nothing's changed.
Presumably,
I've got it wrong.
I'm sure you haven't.
No, that's how it works, really. You know, obviously everyone has to have an input. That's why you have a team.
And do you still kind of speak to Dan and his team regularly? Not as much as you did before, because he's not in the gym. But
yeah, obviously Shane. I spoke to Shane. Spoke to Mark, but obviously Mark was away, so Jimmy was there. Yeah, listen, it is what it is.
Good stuff. What does the future hold for the gym? You've obviously got the fighters we talked about, but are you looking actively to add more fighters?
Listen, we always pick up fighters as we move along, and we lose fighters as we move along. We've got some really good fighters in the gym who haven't had a chance over the last 2 years, like a lot of trainers and managers and people involved in the sport will have. You'll lose a few, we'll gain a few. But obviously, just moving forward, it's always to try and get the best for the kids that we work with at that point. Yeah. That's always been the driving force to get the most out of their careers. And remember, it's not my career, it's not his career, it's the fighter's career. And obviously, first and foremost, we have a duty of care to the fighter.
Let me ask you both before we go, and it's going to be a tricky one, but I'm not going to allow you to sit on the fence. Ray, starting with you, who's the fighter in the UK that you've never worked with that you'd most like to?
I don't think you can answer that, because if they're with someone, it's not fair, is it? Really?
Well, no, because you're not trying to poach them, but there must be someone whose talent you admire. Like, whose talent you admire the most outside of fighters you've worked with?
Outside I've worked with, at this given time, I think it's got to be Josh Taylor, isn't it? Really, what the kid's done, it's unbelievable. He's unbelievable. He's undisputed champion of the world. He's gone in other people's backyards and done the business. He had a great fight over here with the kid we had training down the gym that time, and that was a blinding fight, that was, and he's done the business out in America. So you can't, you'd love to have someone like him wrapped round you. Yeah, he's a good fighter, great fighter, world-class fighter.
Yeah,
well,
brilliant.
Martin, I'm going to change yours a bit because that's a really good answer from Ray.
The same thing, then.
Who, outside of fighters you've worked with?
You wanted me to go first.
Yeah.
Outside of fighters you've worked with or currently work with, who's the best prospect in the UK? So 10 fights or less, or fewer?
Well, I would probably say Dan Aziz. As just on what we see day in and day out in the gym. I mean, Dan comes here regular. He's got a real good relationship with Brian, and they work really well. But I can only go on what I've seen in the gym. I mean, there is other fighters out there that I ain't seen in the gym, because, as most trainers will tell you, some of the boys can do things in the gym that they don't do on the night. So there might be some really good fighters out there at the moment that haven't showed everything they can do in the gym. So I'm taking nothing away from them, but I like Dan Aziz. I like everything he does. Yeah. And I'd like to say Dan Aziz. Apart from any of our fighters, that is, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
No disrespect to your pride, but apart from any of our fighters.
That's what you think I was going to say, really.
Of course it was.
Good stuff. Well, Martin, Ray, really appreciate your time, and best of luck going forward.
Good luck.